Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. Our guest today bear no regrets, offer no caveats. They will never settle for less. Florida-based hard rocker Sid Stratton. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having us on. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I'm excited. So I actually had a guest on my show probably about 5 months ago and brought up your name and said, hey, listen, you should really get these guys on your show. And I was like, I went and kind of Googled you guys. And you were my selling feature, right? Like back in the day, I loved Megadeth. And I was like, wow, the lead singer is pretty hot. We got to have him on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All through like growing up, everyone always was like, oh, you look like a young Dave Mustaine. So like, yeah, I hear that all the time.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, I was showing a picture of you to my daughter. She's like 26. And she was like, whoa, yeah, you got to have him on.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. So before we jump into your playlist, what was your experience putting the songs together for me today?
Oh man, what was the experience? I just like really just picked out stuff that really just talks to me. You know what I mean? Like I'm really excited that we get the chance to share them all. I think some of them are going to come out of left field. So I'm excited to see what people think when they watch this and how they take to it. I don't think they're going to see it coming for a lot of it.
I love it. I love it. Well, because I am like looking at your playlist and, it's interesting when you get, like a hardcore rocker on here, metal band, and then lots of their playlist is like the first song that I'll play here in a minute. It kind of like throws you off a little bit, but any kind of artist that I've had on here that is heavy, it is all the same, which blows me away. So yeah. I'm always curious by the stories. So here's your first song. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Kiss from a Rose, Seal, obviously. I feel like anytime that song is played, there's most people get it like the first like 30.2 seconds and they're like, oh, I know this song, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. This song, I remember being a kid and I'm a huge Batman fan. Like in my room right now, there's like Batman stuff everywhere. And the first Batman movie I could remember as a kid was Batman Forever. And not just because of like how it looked and it was Batman, but I remember the soundtrack, not just like the musical score, which I was a big fan of, but just like the pop songs that were on it. So like you had U2, but the big standout for me was Seal. And so I remember I was pestering my aunt to get me the cassette. So she did. She got me. It was like she did it herself. So it was Kiss from a Rose by Seal, and then it was Savage Garden's I Want You. It was like A and B, and I wore out the tapes consistently. And so she had to keep making them for me and get me, but I would just wear them out. But yeah, I love that song. Just love it so much.
And Savage Garden, that's so hilarious. My daughter's father was a drummer of Savage Garden. So
what? Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I love that. So I made a post today because someone posted something weird where it was staying with you on a mountain, and it was that whole, it's like when you haven't been in the bar with your fellows in a long time and it's just all these guys in the bar and they sing that song together. And I was like, that was literally us on tour. Like Savage Garden came on. I don't think the rest of the band really cared. But Raven Death Dancer, which is our drummer's girlfriend, she's a Savage Garden fan. So she was singing it too. And I was like, oh my God, you like Savage Garden? She's like, you like Savage Garden? I was like, I love Savage Garden.
Yeah, we don't hear about them I haven't heard really of them in like 20 something years, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's so crazy when people put like stuff like that and it just brings you back to that time when you're like, oh my God, I was so young and that's so crazy. Yeah. And like the connections.
Like I could still picture it now in my dad's Ford Ranger just driving around town. I'm just again flipping the cassette and just like putting Savage Garden, Seal back to back to back to back. And I think my parents probably got annoyed with it after a while, but I just couldn't get enough of those two songs specifically. Like,
What was your parents' music when you were growing up?
so we're also big like parrot heads, like love Jimmy Buffett. So my dad, well, actually back in the it's like late 80s, early 90s, my family owned a bar here in Florida, and it was called the Night Out Pub. And it's been bought and sold like a bunch of times since then, but like they used to sell so much alcohol, they were second only to Disney. And then so they would take my parents on trips. So my dad got flown, I can't remember what to the island, what island what it was with my mom, and they met Jimmy Buffett and ended up partying with him like all weekend. And so I
Wow.
think he was a parrot head before then, but that's really just like kept it going. So now like I've been to like four Jimmy Buffett concerts, I think. So it was really sad to see his passing because a lot of his songwriting, like that's how I would learn to write songs, is kind of like rewriting Jimmy Buffett songs and like how the stories he would tell. So yeah,
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Ozzy. My dad took me to AC/DC. My mom took me to Guns N' Roses. So yeah, it's all over the board. U2, my mom was a big U2 fan. And it's funny because like when I started getting to heavier stuff, like I love like Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, Korn, like I'm huge into those bands. So while my parents were taking me to see AC/DC and Ozzy and Guns N' Roses, I would then take them to see those bands and Nine Inch Nails. So it was really cool being
That
able
is
to
really cool.
take each other to each other's concerts. Now my mom's a huge Korn fan, and it's really funny. She's just like can't get enough. She's always like, do a cover, Shoots and Ladders, and maybe we will one day. I met a friend at a tattoo shop. We like did a charity event at called Tattoo Day, and I met this guy named Brad, and he's a great bagpipe player. So we're talking about maybe doing that as a cover. So
That'd be cool.
yeah, my mom's gonna like lose her mind. She's gonna be like, what?
I love that because I did that with my kids all the time. Like I like exploded their mind with so many different kinds of music. Like
Mm,
my mom was like Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, all of that kind of stuff. And then my dad was like 11 years older than my mom. So it was like, Blueberry Hill and Chuck Berry and like all
mm,
of that kind of stuff. So when I was like obsessed with music, and then obviously I grew up into the 80s, and then I love like
mm.
hair band, and then it was like, so my collective of music has been all over. So we do like a lot of, because my kids really like thrash metal or rave.
Yeah,
That's kind
yeah,
of their, so
it's
like
great
they'll
stuff.
go to their
Yeah.
thrash metal, and I'll take them to raves. So
Hmm.
like we do a bunch of that stuff too, and I love it because it's so fun to watch them. Like when
Hmm.
we were going to concerts, I loved being in the front row, like, and now when
Yeah.
you go see concerts now, it's so different. It's like you're sitting in seats, and it's like it's still fun, but like where is like you're dying and having to like strip all your
Yeah.
clothes off because you're sweating to death on the floor, and they haven't even came on
Yeah.
stage yet. Like I miss those days, and I wish that they got to experience those days.
Hmm. I took my sister to go see it was Offspring, Bad Religion, Pennywise, and I think
Wow.
Whole Wheat Bread. And she's like, I want to go into the pit. And I was like, I don't know if you want to go in the pit for this. She's like, yeah, let's go in the pit. I was like, let's wait out one song. And after one song, let me know if you want to go in. I'll take you. And first song, this guy gets like thrown out of the pit, like gets knocked out. And it's just like on the ground, done for the rest of the night. And I was like, you still want to go in? She's like, no. And I was like, yeah, I didn't think you would.
We just actually seen them at Punk Rock Bowling in Las Vegas. So we seen
Oh, cool.
like
Yeah.
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Bad Religion, Rancid was
Mhm.
like freaking
Rancid.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was so good. Yeah, it was like a 3-day event, like all old school punk bands that I haven't seen like forever. So I was like, this is so fucking awesome. Dropkick was there. Like it was so much fun. So yeah. It's crazy how you just kind of all over, because when I met my husband, he was all old school punk, right? It's like Bad Religion, Sloppy Seconds, all of that kind of stuff, which I never really listened to. Nobody ever really shared that kind of music with me.
Yeah.
So it was cool to be able to like do that, and then me come back and share like totally different music that he's never been exposed to too. So
That's
it's
a lot of fun. That's
yeah.
kind of like how my wife and I are, because she like leans more on a lot of the like I was a Cure fan, but she like loves the Cure and a lot of that kind of stuff. So like the most I knew about the Cure is because I was like a big fan of the Crow, so I knew the song like Burn and all their hits. And then she introduced me to like their whole albums, and I was like, whoa. It seems with the Cure, it's like every time they did something, like just going back and looking at timelines of things, they would do something. A lot of people would try to copy it, and they were off to the next thing. And then people were always trying to catch up with the Cure, and they were always ahead. And I thought that was just so cool.
It is really cool. Do you remember the first concert you ever been to?
I think it was Carlos Santana. I
Oh,
believe it
wow.
was. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah. My parents took me to go see Carlos Santana. It was in Santana, and then Jimmy Buffett was pretty much right off the start as well too. So those two were like one and two.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Were you like a rocker in high school? Like what kind of guy were
Oh
you?
yeah. Oh
Yeah?
yeah. I've always just been music all the time. It was, yeah, I would get in trouble for wearing like Guns N' Roses shirts and Marilyn Manson shirts, and we'd get like what is it called? Dress code violations because all the stuff I was wearing. I was like, these are bands. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, hey, promote violence and sexual content. I was like, it's an album. I was like, what? I was like, come on. So I was always getting in trouble for that.
Yeah. If you could be any 80s frontman, who would you be?
Oh man. Man, I love AC/DC, and I
Yeah.
would have loved to have been like Brian Johnson, like the Back in Black era,
Yeah.
which still blows my mind just how a band can put out with two lead singers back-to-back albums from Highway to Hell to Back in Black, especially after a tragedy, and both of them
Yeah.
are just so crazy good. I'm just like, so I would say Brian Johnson for
Yeah.
AC/DC. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. I love AC/DC. I've seen them a few times, and what an unreal show. I miss going, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I've noticed like over the kind of, you get this 80s realm, and maybe even some of the 90s too,
Mhm.
where the concerts are like, so off the wall with
Yeah,
pirates and all this crazy shit. I miss those days. That's why I keep
same.
going back, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know, like, we're going to see Kiss next month, and I'm like, I'm only going to see Kiss because I think it's going to be like a fucking unreal stage
Show. Yeah.
show and them all dressed up. And I think that would be awesome. Like, I never miss a Motley Crue concert because I know it's going to be off the hook. I know it's going to be all crazy. So I love going to see shows like that. Do you, like, are you influenced by that? Do you
Oh
want to be putting
yeah.
on these elaborate type of shows as well?
So funny story. I hope I don't go too far off the tracks with this one, but so when I started like the Sid Stratton rebrand, because I was in a band for like 10 years before, it didn't really go anywhere. We toured a few times and it just didn't happen or it didn't work out. And then during pandemic, I like did a rebrand and became Sid Stratton. And the whole idea was the more theatrical Alice Cooper, Motley Crue. So we tag teamed with my wife owns a burlesque troupe called Bad Witch Burlesque. So it's like while I was playing, all of the dancers would do aerial arts, pole routines, any kind of thing, fire dances. And so then that transitioned to what we do for live now when we get to do our full theatrical shows. That's what we do. And I remember one year we did Miami. We've only been a band for a year and a half, so this was the first one. And we do them almost every year, maybe every like 7 months to a year. We do a big theatrical show, and one of the dancers set my hair on fire and almost set my face on fire. So yeah, we love pyro. I still love doing it. I was like, it's all right. Let's just, we'll be a little more careful next time.
Yeah, I love that you have dancers. I was going to ask you that. I love that concept. I think it's good. It's tasteful. It's not trashy. There's not a
Yeah.
bunch of half naked, you know what I mean? But like
Mm.
trashy, half naked. It's like they
Oh
just
yeah.
pull these trash girls out from the crowd and they're just like, here's my tits. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like,
So like it's very tasteful, and I love that you do aerial and all of that stuff because
thank you.
it's so entertaining. And that's what you
Yes.
want. You want to be able to feel the music, but you also want to leave a show going, that was fucking awesome. If they come
Mm,
again, I don't know who they were, or maybe I do. I'm
mm,
gonna go see them again because the show was awesome. And then the music's like the cherry,
yeah.
right? Instead of the other way around. Like there's been lots of concerts that I've went to, like Red Hot Chili Peppers is the only one that kind of popped into my mind. And I loved them growing up, and I went and
Mhm.
seen them, and I was still fairly young. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Right?
how I
They
was
were
when I saw like
amazing.
Jane's Addiction. I didn't,
Yeah, yes.
yeah, I was like kind of surprised. I was like, I thought there was gonna be more. Like I would watch videos like older shows and they were like a lot more theatrical. And then I
Yeah,
saw them and I was like, where'd all that go?
I know.
I was like, I guess they got tired of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. This guy put Well, Chili Peppers put like a white screen up, and then they had lamps
Hmm.
behind the screen that kind of showed in the shadow, and they just stood there. I was like, what the fuck is happening? This
You're
doesn't
like,
seem
yeah,
right.
yeah. It's like this doesn't seem,
Yeah. And this is
yeah,
like sex magic. Okay. There's like, your second, third popular album here. What's happening? Like, are you guys
yeah.
giving up already? Like,
Yeah,
it's,
it's like you got to turn it up to 11 for that kind of stuff. And especially like when you're going to see a band live, especially if you like have that kind of production budget, I think it's like you kind of should try to go above and beyond. That's why I love Ghost as well, man. They just go above and beyond with their theatrics. And it's like when you're like a band that can play awesome live, but also put on a show live and combine that, I feel like that just makes those bands so much more elevated in my eyes. Like AC/DC, going back to them, seeing them like it was the Black Ice tour, and I think that was like Rock and Roll Train was the lead single, and then they had the train coming out like shooting fire out of the train. I was like, whoa, I was like, this is incredible. So it's just like I feel like bands, man, they really, if they're not doing that, they're really, missing out because it's just so much fun, especially as like a concert goer,
yeah,
and it's so inspiring. So that's why I like try to do that kind of stuff with our shows as well.
I love it. Yeah. When we did seen AC/DC, it was Money Talks, and
Oh,
they
nice.
dropped money. So it was AC/DC money. And I still have it, which is crazy because when I started this show 3 years ago, I was like, oh, I should go find like all my, I miss ticket stubs. Like back in the
Hmm.
day, you get your ticket stub and then we'd save it. And so I was like going through it. I was like, no way, all these
Yeah.
ticket stubs and like my AC/DC money.
I have a whole treasure chest of all my old ticket stubs from shows, and I have hidden around here somewhere. And I used to have them hanging up on like a cork board on the
Yeah.
wall, and just had them all there, just like in the order of the show I went to see it. So I was always trying to like, add more to the cork board so it just keep on going. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. All right. This next song is your song. I'm
Oh
excited.
no.
All right. You want to say the name of the song? You can do it with
Yes.
power.
Yeah, so that's Leviathan.
I
Yeah.
love it.
That's that song it's so weird because I remember writing that and just like I was listening to a lot of Tool. And so I was like, oh, time signatures, changing it up. That'd be cool. So we do like a 3/4, 5/4 breakdown back and forth and coming back into it. And it's just like, it's just so much fun playing it live. And the whole idea too is that song was like our mission statement when the first album came out. It was like, hey, this is like who we are. Storms are coming, gonna blow you away. So we would try to deliver that kind of style of performance every time. So that's and I know in the lyrics was writing it was just more of the idea of like, going out into this crazy world or, of music, which in our minds is just like the storm, going into it head first. And we know the Kraken is out there waiting to, drag us down, but we're still going to face it head on. It was just kind of like my image of going and taking on the music industry is like, oh, well, we know what waits us and we're going to attack it head on and hopefully we come out on the other side kind of thing. So, yeah.
It's crazy being, obviously, probably for you, just being in the new kind of realm of music now,
Oh, yeah.
right? I know back in the day, it was like, I know this guy that knows this guy that can, pass on our tape. Now I feel like, what are some like struggles that you have seen? Obviously, you've been in the industry for a long time.
Mhm.
What is kind of you've seen over the last, call it, 12, 13 years of
Yeah.
being
So
a band?
trusting like promoters. There's like few and far between good promoters that will like stay true to their word. Um, Everyone wants like a piece of the pie, I've noticed, and you gotta like kind of watch out for that because there are some people that just want to be out there to help you out, to help elevate you, and just be like, hey, just want to see you succeed. And there's other people that will like say that, but want to like, drain your piggy bank or kind of screw you over. And I remember one of the first contracts I signed was when I was like 16 with like a really bad record deal kind of thing. And they wanted to fire the rest of my band that I had, make me a pop rock star and send me to Europe. And I was like, no. And they're like, if for each one of my songs, if I wanted the rights, it'd be 10 grand a song to buy the rights back. And I was like, well, if these songs are worth this much to you, I was like, I probably should hold on to these, and then was able to get out of that after 4 months because of a loophole in the contract. So dodged a bullet, but just keeping my eye out on people like that and making sure it's like when you make a mistake, learn from it, don't do it again. So
Yeah.
it's like I try to usually give people like two chances. Like first time, like okay, you say that's an accident, but after the second time, so that's how we are with like promoters and people we work with, other bands, whatever it is, really. It's just like two strike kind of thing we know
Yeah.
to look out for now.
So do you like all of your album covers yourself? Like, are you designing them? Do you have somebody that's really good on that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like so the that logo where it's like it's so what it is a Leviathan cross, but it incorporates like my zodiac sign, um Batman fan, so there's a bat in it, of course, and then like the snake in there. So I had one of my buddies, Wolfman, he just drew it by hand,
Wow.
and he's like, here you go. And then I had a guy redo it digitally. And then for the new album coming out from Ashes to Diamonds on November 11th, that one, we had two versions of it. One that Aaron, our drummer, did, and then Ryan took a crack at it, our guitar player, and he's like, "It's a cool cover, but it doesn't match the music." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I feel that." And he's like, "Let me see what I can do." And he brought back this like neon pink design, really bright color. I was like, "Oh, there we go. That's what we're gonna do." So it's kind of like a tag team. I'll say like, "Hey, here's the idea." One guy draws it up, and then the other one edits it, and then that's kind of how we get it.
I like it. So tell me a little bit about the new album that's coming up. Like,
Mhm,
obviously, I know some things changed over the last, call it, year and a half for you. What
mhm.
is one thing that you feel really stands out in this album that you're proud of?
How much it's evolved. Like I remember doing all the songs from the first album and where I was to the new one, and I was like talking to our producer John, and I was just like, these songs like really hold up to like whatever's out there right now. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, we're making some strides, and we got some guest stars. We got Dan Sugarman of Ice Nine Kills. He features on it. He's going to be doing a guitar solo on one of them, but we got like a lot of guests on there where he's like played it for other people, and people were like, yo, this is what's up. And he works with some really cool, crazy artists. So that made me pretty proud to see how like, it's not just like normal fans saying like, oh yeah, that's cool, but like a lot of like my peers in the music industry, they're like, yo, what is this? Like a lot of people I look up to, and I'm like, hey, I want to get to that level. And they're like, yeah, you're on the right track with this album. I was like, yes. So
That's
we even
awesome.
submitted for I sent it to one guy we used to tour with, and I can't give too many of the details away because none of it's like ironed out. But I sent it to him and I was like, "Hey, I know you got a new band. You're going to be doing some touring next year. What do you think of this?" And he sent me just like paragraphs of how much he loved the album. He's like, "This would be perfect to open for us on tour." He's like, "Let me see what I can do." So fingers crossed, hoping for some good stuff to come our way. So we'll see what happens.
Do you feel like being in this industry, do you feel like maybe back in the day it was like people just heard you and were like, hey, come play with us? Do you feel like nowadays it's like you have to now be sending your stuff to people and being like, hey, it'd be really cool if we collaborate together?
Yeah, it's yeah, it is kind of weird. So like I've worked with like the same producer for like 10 years. So that's the only person I've ever wrote any music because that's how all the songs are. It's like me and the producer, we just I shoot an idea, or like there's a new song called Moxie off the new album where he called me and he's like, "Do you like the Killing Joke?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I just wrote the song. I think your vocals would be really cool on it." I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And yeah, we got this wickedly crazy song called Moxie that I can't wait for people to hear. And yeah, so it's like even like getting show opportunities back in the day, it was more like, yeah, we heard you through here, come on and play with us. And now it is definitely more of like I got to reach out because
Yeah.
everyone, it's you just got to try to cut through and make friends, and make a good impression. And it's definitely more of in your own hands, which I prefer that. I don't like other people in control of our destiny. It's like
Yeah.
if we're gonna succeed or fail, I'd rather that be on my shoulders than anyone else's because I don't like blaming people if something doesn't go right. It's
Yeah.
like
And
I'd
you got
rather take the
expectations on yourself. I'm not going to have
Mhm.
an expectation on you.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, if something doesn't go right, then it's because I dropped the ball and I can't blame someone else. So I'd much prefer that than, an easy way out of saying like, ah, we could have done it, but they didn't, keep up their end of the bargain or they didn't do what they could have done. So.
Do you have any weird rituals before a show that you have to do?
Oh yeah. So Raven Death Dancer leads the band in stretches. So, before we all get up there, we'll all make sure to do our stretches. And then I'm a big wrestling fan. So like we all do like the NWO two sweet, right? When we go up on stage, we two sweet each other and then we get going. So that's like our ritual. Stretches and two sweet. That's about it. Yeah.
You're a big Tool fan, yes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have never seen them live and I want to so bad, but they're like my bass playing style, Justin Chancellor, 100% like the biggest inspiration on bass for me. So it's like a love Tool.
You'll have to go back and listen to a good friend of mine. Her name is Brandy Lee, and she is a huge promoter. Anyways, like with Tool, she knew those guys, but they would paint each other's toenails.
It's like the weirdest stuff
She
that you
like told
find
me
out. It's
this
like what?
crazy story about them all sitting in a circle painting their toenails. I'm like, come on, Brandy. And she's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, and you're like we didn't have something quite like that, but I remember at Incarceration, like we're big Highly Suspect fans. And we were walking back to the tent while the rest of the band was watching Limp Bizkit. Like we caught the first few songs. They're like, "Hey, let's go get a drink." And then we ran into Highly Suspect, and they were just like walking their dog. So we all just kind of like hung out and played with the dude's dog, and kind of like like, "Oh, hi guys, but your dog, oh my goodness." So it's like, but everyone in the campground kind of thing, we're all like going to their dog and kind of like, "Oh yeah, you're Highly Suspect, but your dog." It's like it was just really funny kind of moment where I'm like, "Huh, don't expect that." you know.
Has there been a show that you guys have played that you were like that stands out the most for you? Like
Oh
maybe
yeah,
the crowd or the atmosphere?
definitely Incarceration. Just because we've only been a band for a year and a half. Actually, yeah, literally a year and 6 months as of like yesterday, kind of thing.
Wow.
And it's just very weird how good we were. Not weird, it's just mind blowing. Because usually when you're the small band, the new guys around, you kind of gotta like earn your
Yeah.
keep. And
Yeah.
at Incarceration, like Dan hand delivered our wristbands to us, and he's like one of the co-guys of the whole festival, like super busy, and came and dropped off our wristbands to us himself. And I was like, what? And then we got catering, and we're just treated like rock stars by the whole staff, security, and we're just like, this is incredible. And then not to get started on like the show itself was just so awesome playing, and like in front of us is the prison that they filmed what was that movie? Shawshank Redemption. They filmed
No
there and a bunch of
way.
music videos. Yeah, and it's just like that's the landscape as we're playing, and just seeing the people, like the crowd of people come in while we started playing, where even a few fans are like, I guess there was like the way the traffic was, it was like a bottleneck. And while we were playing, there was like a bottleneck because people were trying to come see us. And I was like,
No
whoa,
way.
that's nuts. And then after we were done, people were trying to jump on stage to grab my guitar picks. And I was just like, what is happening? And then coming down, trying to load out because they got a guy there waiting for your gear to bus it back. And everyone's like, no, we want your autographs. And we're like, is it cool? And they're like, yeah, yeah, go do your thing. We're like, okay. And then that took like, 40 minutes. And we're like, we're so sorry it's taken so long. They're like, no, no, soak it up, man. So it's just the crowd, the performance, the staff, and just how well we were treated and received kind of blows our mind. And again, because we're just, we're the new kids on the block, really. And
I
just to
love
get
that.
that
I love
reaction.
that how you speak of that because I
Mhm.
feel like I know it probably gets repetitive like over time. Like the Rolling Stones, they're probably like, "Oh,
Mhm.
we got more." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we know we're great.
I know,
Yeah.
we got to
Yeah.
sign like 7 hours of autographs. But I
Mhm.
think it's so cool that if you could stay like that, because this is what created you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So like staying humble through that spot and soaking it in and enjoying it and loving that experience. I love that. Like that is such a good way to be, and I think
Thank you.
more musicians need to be that way.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really, I don't know, like it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do since I could like remember anything. Like, my whole family are musicians at some degree, and it's just like that's all I've ever wanted to do. So anytime we get the chance to do it, to me, I'm just like, yes, I'm just like so
It's a
excited.
win.
Yeah, exactly. It's like no matter what else is going on, that always puts me in a good mood.
That's
So
cool. All right, next song.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful People, Marilyn Manson. I remember when this album, I even remember when he came out. Like, it was
Mhm.
such a shocker considering all the crazy metal bands, rock bands that we had, anyways. He was
Yeah.
just so very different.
Yeah. He's the artist I've seen the most. I think I've seen him like perform 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, especially growing up, had all of his albums. Anytime there was like a magazine with him on it, every interview. And he was kind of like the rabbit hole for me to fall into other stuff. Like through Manson, I discovered Nine Inch Nails, discovered Korn, just, Slipknot. It was all through, experiencing that. So I still remember the first time hearing that song. I was helping when I was younger, like there was other bands always playing and I would help them load in gear, just trying to be around. I was that annoying kid at every show, like, hey, you need help, man? They're like, just grab the guitar, bring it in," kind of thing. And we were at the Hard Rock and I went to the gift shop, just like gonna buy a shirt and a bracelet or something. And the Beautiful People came on the TV and I like stopped in my tracks and was like, what is this? And just seeing that music video. And then right after that music video played was Nine Inch Nails' Head Like a Hole. And I was like, what is this? So it's just like those two songs back to back. Yeah, but definitely Beautiful People was like, that shock and how it was filmed and just hearing how like aggressive the percussions were, and which is like that's how I love drums so much on our records, is just very aggressive and like up front, just like so much toms in there and everything. I
Yeah,
know
I
that's
love
like
drums. I'm a drummer by trade, so I love being super aggressive. Like, I love feeling that. They say, like, if you got anger, go beat the shit out of your drums for a
yeah,
reason. Like, I'm a big
yeah,
believer in that. It's like you can go do that, right? Did
yeah.
you play instruments growing up?
Yeah, I played piano a lot. I wasn't ever any good, but like I would have like piano recitals and just like improv because I'm like I didn't want to learn the sheet music. I just wanted to create my own stuff.
Yeah,
So I know it probably wasn't the best sounding stuff up there, but I was like, I don't want to play hot cross buns at the,
yeah.
or whatever at the,
Chopsticks.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I ain't gonna do that. I'm just gonna go up there and make something. And so definitely not the reaction or definitely not what people were expecting for like I was going to like first grade and stuff doing these piano recitals, just like, nah, we're just gonna wing it. We're gonna see what we come up with. So not what they were expecting, but I loved it. And then
Yeah.
that kind of led into how did I even get into that? Oh yeah, so my mom's grandfather owned an orchestra that toured all over like Europe and stuff, and then his wife was a dancer, like a ballerina dancer. So it's like got into piano through there, and then from there, my uncle was a prominent like jazz drummer, and he just played with everybody under the sun, and he kind of gave me my first bass. And when I was like, I told him I was like, "Hey, who's Marilyn Manson?" His head was like, "Oh, you want to know?" Because he had like all the albums of everything. So he took me down the rabbit hole and showed me everything on that side of the spectrum of music. So
What
owe a
was your
lot to Uncle
first
Chuck.
song that you learned on bass that you were excited about learning, that you actually went
Uh,
and picked?
so this is gonna be funny, is like I never went out and learned anybody else's songs on bass. I just literally just wrote the first song I ever wrote was Alone. So that song, it's on the All My Deadly Sins album. And that one, Censored and Rotten Rose were the first three. And it was just had a bass. I wrote them in like 2007 as like a little kid, just messing around. Yeah, I never wanted to learn other people's music. I always just wanted to do my own kind of thing.
That's really cool. Do things inspire you to write, or are
Hmm.
you just natural talent, just gonna, hey, I can jump off this podcast right now and go write a song? Or do you get
Uh,
inspired?
I guess I guess it could be either because it's like, hey, if I just like start humming something, I can put something down. But a lot of it is like storytelling because
Yeah.
before I got into writing music, I like to write short stories, like horror stories and everything. And then I just would put them to songs. And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is easy. We can just go do this and just ran with it like that
That's
kind of
really
thing.
cool. I'd like to write a horror movie with Rob Zombie. That's who
Yeah.
I would like to write a horror movie with.
Lots of blood, lots of
Yeah,
blood
like
for it.
I think, like, obviously I think horror movies are now going like to the extreme of the gore, which is
Mhm.
fine if people like that, but I like the old school horror movies. Like I love the remakes that he's did because they're scary. They're not
Yeah.
like, oh God, this guy's like it's just blood all over the place. It's
Mm.
super gory. It's like scary. You're like, I don't want to fucking go
Yeah.
outside and put the garbage away. Like I'm good. I'm good here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how like I felt seeing Halloween. I was probably like it was weird growing up while everyone was watching like a lot of cartoons. I was watching like well not only Batman but like Frighteners and Halloween and Alien and all that stuff. So that was always like I loved horror movies growing up. So a lot of those more like psychiatric or
Yeah.
psychological kind of horror movies where it's less focused on the gore. Like yeah, someone would
Yeah.
get, get got, but it was more of like messing with your mind and like letting you think of like something that's worse there than it actually is kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
We do this horror movie with our family quite regularly where we'll go somebody's got to pick a horror movie. We're preferring B movies because it's a little bit more hilarious when we're
yeah,
watching them. We all have to pick a player and then obviously the first guy that's dead, you're kind of out of the game.
that's
So we do
cool. That
that.
sounds
And
like
now
fun.
we've moved it to Christmas horror movies. Have you seen some Christmas horror?
That
They are like
that's
out of control. Like they're really bad. Like you're just like holding on for dear life, just hoping
mm,
that you're gonna like get killed first for you can kind of
mm,
move on and do something else. But
mm.
we laugh and we have drinks and we do that and it's something
That
fun.
sounds awesome. That's
Yeah, like
sounds
lots
like a
of fun.
great way to spend Christmas, honestly.
Yeah, you know that little break where it's like the turkey goes in and then from like 12 to 5 people are kind of still hungover from Christmas Eve and everybody's
Yeah.
like laying on the couch wanting to die.
You're like, well,
That's when we
perfect.
usually do it.
You're like, this is my opportunity to shine.
That's right.
I like it.
All right, next song, one of yours. So censored.
Yeah. Ooh, almost knocked the mic off. Oopsies. It's getting too into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So
great song.
thank you. Yeah. So that one is that was one of the original three. I remember getting I think I wrote that on a little starter kit guitar I got for Christmas. And I just like right when I got it, I just went and came up with that and just that was all she wrote with it. I remember like lyric wise, what was it? It was just like talking about government censorship was all that was about, like feeling that way even at like a young age because I remember like the school would always get upset with like the content of my short stories in my journalism class and I'm like can't write about anything, can't do it. I'm like okay,
Yeah,
this sucks. So then writing music is like you can't tell me what to write now, you know.
that's
So that's
right.
that's where that one kind of came from.
I love it. So, are you a movie buff? Do you like to watch movies?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, is there a soundtrack from a movie that you absolutely love?
Oh wow. Um, I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. What did I just buy? I bought the Batman Forever soundtrack because I don't know, I love it so much. Whether it's like the pop songs that are on it or like the actual movie score itself. Like
Yeah,
love both of those. Wow, there's the Queen of the Damned. I mean, that soundtrack's just awesome, banger after banger. There's so
yeah.
many good ones. Yeah. I would love to like
I feel
I
like
felt
vampire movies do have really good soundtracks, though.
so you're gonna love this. So like the new album, some of the songs when I was talking to John, he's like, so what's the goal here? What are we trying to do? I was like, you know that scene in Blade 2 when Wesley Snipes is walking through the vampire club and all that music's going on and all this like gross, obscene but party stuff. He's like, yeah, I was like, I want it to be where we could insert my songs into there and no one would bat an eye. They would just think it was part of it. And he's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
Kind of
that
thing.
blood pumping. That
Mhm.
like anytime I hear that song, that's the first movie I think of. It's like this
Mm.
is Blade. This is Blade.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Crazy.
that's definitely it's kind of crazy how much like some of the songs on there, like Beyond the Pale's on the new album, that was written for a short film that my buddy was writing. And then the film never came out, but we had the song. So I was like, all right, well, it's going to be on this album then. So I was trying to like write music for his film. Like he gave me the script. I think it was called Kagami, I think is what it was called. And it's talking about like the different faces that I think it's like the three different faces. It's like you show your friends, you show the world, and then it's like the only face that you ever see. So that whole song was written for
That's really cool.
his movie. I keep telling him, I was like, bro, you need to put it out because he's a great actor. and he's just got so much going on where he's always busy. But I keep
You
telling
should
him like,
send
yo,
your music to Quentin Tarantino.
oh man, and a
He's
Tarantino,
got
oh,
the
that would be
weirdest
awesome.
freaking music in his
Mhm.
shows. Like,
I should do that. Yeah,
you
that would be
should. Why
awesome.
not?
I
He like,
love Tarantino movies, all of his movies I love. That's actually so funny thing. So when we recorded this new album, um, John puts like a movie up on there. So each song I can like remember the movies we were watching. So it was like Reservoir Dogs we watched. We watched that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
yeah, that's a good show.
And then so this is gonna sound weird. So there's one of the new songs on the record is called Blood Grind. And that theme, I was like, what if the game Red Dead Redemption was set in the Terminator universe? So we put the Terminator on and we watched all the Terminator movies while writing Blood Grind. But then the weird part was like when we were tracking, we couldn't tell if we had the TV audio on because it was like lining up so well. So it's like if you play Blood Grind and watch the Terminator, it kind of goes hand in hand
That's
with it.
really cool. But you
Yeah.
could do that. Like his movies, it's very rare that any of the music in there is super popular. Like you would
Hmm.
never hear a Rolling Stone song in there or
Oh
AC.
yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
all create like the amount of music I've got from there on my
Mhm.
playlist from Tarantino movies is crazy because it's like, oh my God, this is such a good song. Like
Yeah.
for the part of the movie where you're like, ah, it's just, yeah, he knows how to do both like
Yeah.
so well. I would love to have him on my, I think he would be a
Oh man,
freaking riot and his
that would be a
stories.
blast.
I think his
Yeah.
stories would be really
Oh yeah.
interesting. Like, why would you pick this song, like Little Green Bag for the, like, why would you do that? Like, what
Mhm.
is, making you do that, which is really, really cool.
I always like artists like Tarantino too that are kind of they march to the beat of their own drum kind of thing. Like they're not like the stereotypical
Yeah.
person in that industry. And that's why I like Jimmy Buffett. It's like built a $1 billion empire on his own and went against the thing. It's like people like that. I'm just like,
I
much
agree.
respect. So I love Tarantino and how he's like, no, I'm gonna do this, and he go and does it. Someone's like, no, you got to do this. He's like, no, I don't think I will. Love
That's
it.
right. I love it too. So, do you have any pet peeves, things that drive you absolutely crazy?
Uh, yeah. I hate there's like an expression like bring me a rock and then I'll do something with the rock and I hate that one. I guess it's used in like the military a lot. And so
Oh,
like you'll bring them something like, well, I wanted a green rock. It's like, why don't you say a green rock then? I brought you blue one. So it's just like if you're expecting something, let me know the details and how you want it done and I'll go do it. And it's like the same thing. It's like if I ask something of someone, it's like very detailed, and it's like, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Cause it's like, then if it doesn't come out the way and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. It has this in it. And then they'd be like, oh, well, why didn't you tell me not to put that in there? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right. I probably should have said that. So that's a big pet peeve. I try to follow myself too, where I can get caught up into it. And then also just like being prepared. I'm always like, practice at home, rehearse is when everyone gets together because I like being like respectful of everyone's
yeah.
time. I was like, I know everyone has lives going on, they have so much. Everyone's life is so intricate and they got so much that they have to take care of, whether it's like family, job, friends, bill, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure I'm like super respectful towards that because it's like there's nothing worse than like, making it feel like the person you're working with, like you don't value their time. Because I know you don't get any time back. And like the
Yeah.
older I'm getting, the more I appreciate time. So I'm like, I try to make sure I appreciate everyone else's time as well.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm.
And I feel like everybody says they're busy because they're just so exhausted to answer any way
Yeah.
else. It's like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy. Well, join the
Yeah.
effing club because everybody's
Yeah.
busy.
Everyone is busy.
Like
It's
we don't feel
crazy.
sorry for you anymore.
Mm. Everyone's just and it's so crazy to me how like I remember I don't know it's like just a few years ago if like even before the pandemic it didn't feel like everyone is busy but it's like so many like now everyone's
I
just
know.
100 miles per hour all the
I
time
know.
and it's just like I need a calendar for my calendar, you know what I mean, and it's just it's crazy but
And I feel
everyone's
like
hustling.
everybody's in a rush too. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure like obviously Florida is way bigger than Calgary, but I call it the Deerfoot 500 because it's like, why are we going this fast? Like, where are we
Mhm.
going at this time? Why is
Mhm.
there so many people trying to like kill each other on the road for what? Like, what are you running to
Yeah.
all the time? Like,
Oh
It's
man,
so
it's
crazy. I find it's worse after COVID. Like
yeah.
I find people's attitudes are worse.
Hmm.
Everybody's busy. Traffic's
Hmm.
bad. It's just like we're living in this realm of we've been locked up for so long that now we just want to be super angry, which
Yeah.
I'm like totally opposite, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I looked at that as the most greatest opportunity
Hmm.
to like build my empire during those
That's
times.
and that's I feel like I mean that's what we tried to do. That's what my wife did with Bad Witch, and that's like we took that opportunity to be like, hey, we're not shutting down anything. We're gonna just keep going, full steam ahead and put out entertainment for people to consume because everyone needs to be entertained. When the world's burning down, and you need something to take your mind off of it, we were like, hey, let us entertain you, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's great. All right, next song. Your head like a hole, 9 Inch
Yeah.
Nails.
Yep, yep, yep. That's yeah, I mean, I know I touched on it a little bit too, but yeah, that was another one that was just really like just blew my mind seeing as a kid. I think I was yeah, maybe it was 12 years, maybe younger than that. I don't know. I was pretty young. I think it was like 2004, 2005 seeing that for the first time. And it just was like what is, just what world is this? Why have I never heard of it before and where can I get more of it? So, and it's like and again, now how I approach songwriting and then all of our albums is like the Nine Inch Nails method, where it's like, go find a producer, which I had the demos of all the like the first album. I submitted those and they got picked up for a record deal kind of thing, where it was like, I was like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, yeah, we see something in this. And it was like punk rock thrash music. And it turned from that into what you hear now. And they were like, hey, we got this guy. We're going to sign you to him and he's going to mentor you and teach you more about songwriting and all that kind of stuff. And that was John Douglas. So,
Wow.
10 years later, we're still doing the damn thing together. And yeah, it's just, he's great at helping get ideas out where I'll come at him with the demo and I'm like, hey, here's the canvas, here's the picture I'm trying to paint. What are your ideas? And he'll send edits, send them back. He's like, all right, here's what I got. We do it all through like Guitar Pro. And it's just it's awesome. I love writing with him. Such good ideas. And then from him being able to like he works with Corey Taylor, he works with Megadeth, he works with so many artists and he's always expanding his toolkit. So being able to learn from him, because I'll go see him probably try to go up there like once a year and go do stuff with him. And so every time I come back, it's just, his tool belt is so much bigger each
Yeah.
time.
It's
And
like
I'm
you
like,
level
oh,
up. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah. And
love
he's like, and that's how we got Dan Sugarman from Ice Nine Kills. He like really helped us out and he's like, hey, do you want this feature? And I'm like, yeah.
that.
He's like, well, he likes the song, so want to set it up? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, come on, man, why not? That's pretty awesome. And it was like right when he was finishing with touring with Metallica too. So he came off that tour, did the solo, and then we got it in for mix and mastering, and now, it's all queued up and ready to go. So we're pretty
That's
excited.
really cool. Is there certain people, like maybe two, three people that you would love to collaborate that you're like, oh man, I have made it because I am collaborating with this guy or gal.
So I've thought about this, and I don't know how to answer it really, because it's like I'm a big fan of like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it, but you should always be expanding. So that's why I like working with John because I'm like, hey, we already did this song. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah,
And he's the same thing. He's just like, yeah, let's not do the same thing twice. So we're always pushing each other. And I feel like I would love to work with Trent Reznor, but I know he has a way to work, but I don't know if that would mesh well. I mean, I would
yeah.
love to, I'd love to collaborate with him, but I'm like, would it work? And same thing with someone like Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie,
Because they're all kind of
Maynard.
stuck in their ways, right? They have
Yeah.
their own style.
And it's like, I don't know if it would work if I came in, they're like, hey, no, that's disrupting it. Like, no, no, no. And it's like, hey, fair. I understand that. No, no problem at all. So I would love to work with those people, but, I don't know if it would be a good mesh of writing styles because I'm not like a big, like jam out the idea. I like more structure So it's
Yeah.
like I'll write out the music in tabs or whatever, and I'll send it to everybody, and then I'm like, hey, send your ideas back, and we write like that. But being like in the rehearsal space for like 8 hours jamming one riff doesn't seem very productive to me,
No,
you
it's
know.
supposed to sound like this. No, I
Yeah,
think it sounds like this, right?
yeah, and especially when you're trying to show the bigger picture and no one sees it, it's so much easier if you get a tool like Guitar Pro and write out the whole thing so they can see how the layers are. You can see what's supposed to be played where, who's taking this part. And a lot of our stuff, since we're a three-piece band live, so it's a lot of it's like me and Ryan picking and choosing there, right? So I'll play the guitar part for this, you go play the lead, or there'll be a section where I'll play the lead and he's playing the rhythm. And like during Oleander, I'm playing the bass, rhythm guitar, and keys section, and I took them all and morphed them into one bass track. And then their song like Twilight Zone, Ryan does like a lot of improv, fun solos on the top, and Aaron does the same thing too. He's like, feel like we can make it more aggressive, put some percussions here, and I'm like, do it,
Yeah.
just do it live because it's awesome, and it
Yeah.
makes the song I feel like evolve more. So it's I don't know, it's just so cool, so cool.
Love it. So when is your new album coming out?
November 11th, we're
Nice.
doing now I didn't realize it was I guess there's what game was it? Is it Skyrim? I guess that's the anniversary for that. And so we're all big nerds, but I'd never played or was deep into Skyrim. So our drummer was like, "Hey, that's the anniversary of this. That's awesome." I was like, "Oh, cool. I guess that's also the anniversary of that." But yeah, November 11th, we're dropping from ashes to diamonds. We're doing this album release show here in Orlando at the Ren Theater. It's this big, beautiful space. And right now it's decorated like Nosferatu's castle. So we're going to
Wow.
be doing the whole album release and all the burlesque and everything. And basically it's going to look like we're in Transylvania at Dracula's castle playing all these songs. So I'm super excited.
That's
Super
really cool.
excited.
So I seen, and I'm not quite sure if I got this right or not, but if you have like 18 under, are the dancers allowed to be on the stage?
Depends, I think so the cool thing with like our shows, like we'll do family friendly festivals. And
Yeah.
so then it's more go-go. And
Yeah.
like we did a bunch of like we love playing conventions because again, we're all big nerds. So we did MegaCon, Spooky
Yeah.
Empire, Phantasm, and that it's more like go-go and like, fully covered, but still looking rock and roll and
Yeah.
everything. We did a festival in North Carolina and it was like that too. So we're able to, depending on where the show is or what style of show it is, we adjust it. Because I'm like, I don't like swearing in any of my songs. It's not because I don't like swearing, because I swear all the time, but it's more of I like it to be attainable. Because I remember being a kid, and it's like, if it's too many F bombs, like my mom was like, no, you can't have it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, damn. And then finding out later, those songs, like, man, there's so many great songs. I missed out on all that, and I think the
Rage Against the
biggest
Machine.
yeah, yeah. And I think one of the biggest inspirations for the reason why I do something like that was I got Slipknot's Volume 3 Subliminal Verses, and they don't, drop any F-bombs or anything like that on there. And just to hear how heavy and mean and angry and intense you can
And
be
still bring
without.
that without
Yeah.
swearing. Yeah.
So that was very inspiring to me. I'm like, yeah, I would love, like, I still want to deliver that anger and hatefulness and everything, but make it more attainable. That way, if someone's mom, like, hey, mom, can I get the Sid Stratton record? Oh, no, has the parental advisory. I'll be like,
Yeah.
dang. So I try to make it more accessible to everybody.
Right. Do you do anything to keep your voice?
I probably should rehearse a lot. Like,
Yeah.
yesterday's rehearsal was 8 hours. Just trying. I have like I've only taken one vocal lesson, like real vocal lesson as a kid, and the teacher, she didn't teach me how to sing. She just taught me how to breathe.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
keep that and I just watch that because I didn't want to learn how to sing like other singers.
Yeah.
And then there's one other guy's class where it's more about breathing instead of singing. And his name's David, and he's pretty popular on Instagram. And I never thought I would meet him. And then when we did Incarceration, he was there, and I was like standing there. And mind you, we have like Slipknot's here, In This Moment's here, all these bands, and I see him, and I was like, I walked up to him, and I was like, I gotta thank you. And he's like, oh, what? I'm like, I watch your tutorials on how to breathe and your stances and everything. I was like, they helped me out a lot. I was like, thank you so much. He's like, oh, appreciate it, man. Yeah, yeah, keep on kicking ass. So it's just kind of funny. I just watch his videos on how to breathe and your posture and not sing from the throat kind of thing. Make sure to sing from the diaphragm. That's about it.
I love it.
Drinking
What do you
tea,
love
lots of
most about
coffee.
your band?
Oh, just the people in it.
Yeah.
Putting this band together, the big like thing for me, going back to not wanting to waste time, is I was like, hey, this is a lot of time we're going to be spending with people. So these got to be great people. And if they're not good people, I don't want to be around them. And so met Ryan, great guy. Both of us huge like action figure collectors. So we got like cases and stuff. We buy the same action figures basically. I go to his house. I'm like, bro, I just bought those. He's like, oh, I just bought these too. And then of course my wife's, main go-go dancer, charged of all the burlesque. We say she does lead vocals on Rotten Rose live, so it's a little bit different than the recording. Because I'm a big Lana Del Rey fan. She has that kind of Lana Del Rey kind of sultry voice to it, so it brings it to a different level, and I love it. And she's the head booty shaker, we say as well. And then we met Aaron. He was supposed to do a music video for us, or no, wait. It was so Leviathan Arts, the guy who does these.
Yeah.
We buy a lot of his stuff, and he was following us, and we just got rid of our drummer, and he reached out to Aaron. Aaron reached out to me. I was like, oh, we already got somebody, but music video instead. And he's like, sure. So then I was like, can we do a call? He's like, sure. And I called him. I was like, hey, do you want to be the drummer? He's like, what? I thought it was going to be a music video. And after meeting him, he's like, Aaron's one of the sweetest, most kind, loving human beings you could ever meet. He's just like a big warm hug when you meet him, and just like a great, I don't know, just great energy when you're around him. Like you could be having a bad day. Like I'll reach out to him sometimes and be like, man, I'm feeling down and frustrated about this. And he's like, it's okay, man. We are all, he tells me the same thing. He's like, we're all busy, we're all going through it. He's like, hey, we're doing a lot, man. So be proud. So it's like, whenever I need like a pickup, I'll reach out to Aaron and just talk with him. And he makes
I
me
love
feel
people
better.
that fill your cup. There needs
Yes.
to be more people like that. Because I feel like I'm a cup filler, but I feel like I don't got a ton of cup fillers in my realm, right? I feel like I have some, but I feel like I really latch on to the cup fillers where like
Yeah.
sometimes I feel bad if I have it and then I'm like, I gotta phone this person because they're the only person that's gonna break me out of that. And I love the way you described it.
Yeah.
Like that. I
Yeah.
love those types of people.
I'll be on like the way home from work and I'll shoot him a call or something like that. And I'll be like, yo, man, what's going on? Talk to me, and it's just, yeah, it just feels really good talking with him. He really just makes you feel just happier after talking to him.
Yeah, I love it. All right, your last song. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Lucky 13.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one we haven't played in a long time. Until recently we started playing it again. Cause like some songs you can't like crack the code live. And especially when there's so much going on, it's like, how do you do it with just the three of us? And we finally cracked the code for that song and we're playing it live and people were losing their mind. We're like, yes, we did it. And there's kind of a joke with us because there's a line in there where I say like restraints you placed on me. And we were driving, me and my wife, and she goes, what are you saying right there? I'm like, why? She's like, I think you're saying one thing, but I know it's not it. I'm like, oh, restraints you placed on me. She's like, I thought you've been saying some stranger pissed on me. I was like, what? So now, like live, I'll sing that sometimes. I'll just be like, some stranger pissed on me. And then people be like, what? And like when we're touring, that's what people are saying too, like in the bus and everything. That song comes on our shuffle. Everyone's like, some stranger pissed on me. And I'm like, oh man. So yep. And then it's a whole, we've rewritten the song where the lyrics are all just about peeing your pants now. And it's just, it makes it hard sometimes playing it live because I try not to sing those. Well, not only that, is like I'll fumble the words because I go to sing those and I'm like, wait. And I'll get like choked up for a second. I'll turn and look at them and they're like laughing at me because they know, I was about to sing the pee pants lyrics for me.
How did you meet your wife?
Oh, wow. So first time I saw her and I didn't get to meet her, she was like a cage dancer at this like nerd bar that I would go to. And I wanted to go talk to her, but I thought she was like with someone else because someone was like lurking by the cage. I was like, damn, really wanted to get to know her. come to find out that was just some like creepy dude. And I was like, damn it, I should have
I
went and
was
talked to
thinking
her.
that. I'm like, that's probably a creepy dude.
Yeah, and she's like, I wish you would have came and talked to me. And then a few months later, my friend Wolfman, it was kind of like blind dates, double date setup. He like him and his girlfriend at the time invited us out for trivia to meet each other. And me, Wolfman, and his girlfriend were hanging out, and I didn't know it, but his girlfriend at the time was sending Lashes pictures of me. She was like taking secret shots. She's like, "Oh, this is Chris. I think you should, you should meet him." And she's like, "Who is that?" Kind of thing. So then we got to meet each other, and been almost over 5 years now. Yeah.
What do you
We
love
just got
most
married
about
last
the
year.
women?
Passion. She is just one of the most, well, no, the most passionate person I've met. Very determined. Like it's weird. So there's very few people in the world I've met that said they were going to do something and then do it and then be excellent, like the best at it. And she keeps doing it with everything she chooses. She's like, I'm going to do this now, and then goes and does it. And it's awesome. And she's like, I'm going to do this now, and goes and does it. And she's awesome. And I'm just like, how are you doing this? It's like so crazy to me. So a lot of like, I learned so much from her. Like I went and got my master's in business, and like everything that I learned, she already knew how to do. And I was just like, she's just so intuitive and just kills it at everything. So it just blows my mind.
I love that you guys work together. My husband and I work together too. And I feel like, I don't know if you guys experience this, but in the beginning, maybe you're trying to find each other's roles. But once you kind of figure out each other's roles, it's like so much
easier. Yeah. It's a lot, because I know sometimes there will be like, all right, who's right on this one? Who's wrong on this one? But most of the time,
Put your hands up, bandmates. Put your hands up.
Yeah. So it's but now it's like it gets easier and easier, and especially because like all the burlesque dancers are hired from her company. So it's like making sure that relationship's good between her and her dancers and doing like subsections. So it's like, hey, this core group of girls will work with us where these don't, because it's like you don't want to oversaturate your shows with the same people, or else, that kind of brings down ticket sales. So you got to make sure you got a good mix of people. Yeah. So that way we can keep doing more shows and keep it fresh. Because I'm like, I don't like putting on the same show. It's the same thing with writing songs. I don't want to write the same song, and I don't want to play the same show.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we keep it evolving? And now we're to the point where we're like, I think we have 22 songs, I think it is. So for a lot of these shows, we try to change up the set list as much as we can. And like we try to put in our main ones like Twilight Zone and Censored as much as we can, but we like just changing it up to see how the crowd reacts. And then it makes it more fun, because it's like, if you saw us last month, this next month, it's going to be a different set. Yeah. And if you see us the month after that, then we'll probably do a mesh of those two sets. So it's always something different.
I love it. So where can we stalk you, hunt you down? Obviously, we know Spotify, iTunes, but do you have a website? Do you want to be followed on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube? You want to?
Oh, yeah, all of it. We got our main website, sidstratton.com. You can go there for updates. You can go to our Instagram at Sid Stratton. Same thing for Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. YouTube, subscribe, follow, like, do all the good things, because we got a lot of good things coming.
I love it. Well, thank you, Sid, so much for joining us today on Music Junkies. But before I let you go, I'd love for you to leave me and our junkie fans some words of wisdom.
Oh, yeah. So the mission statement now for the band is what you said at the beginning: offer no caveats, bear no regrets, never be one to settle for less. Because at the end of the day, man, don't lower your standards for anyone or anything. Do what you believe is right, and don't apologize for being awesome and being yourself. Because if you're compromising, well, you're not living your best life. So don't compromise. I
love it. Great words of wisdom. Again, like, follow, subscribe. I'll leave all your socials on there. We'll promote you for life, which I love. I'm excited to see like where you are 6 months from now, a year from now, and have you and the band come. You and your wife. I'd like to have you and your wife on the show together. Would be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of characters, so I think it would be. Oh, it gets very funny. It gets very funny. You can tell whose role is what when you get all four of us on the screen at the same time.
I love it. Thanks again so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.